It's a pleasure to be here. I'm on the other side of the world. We're in Seattle, and we're at a pretty northern latitude. So, as you can see, we still have some nice sunshine outside. That's great when it's summer and you want to enjoy some late evenings. It's not great when you have young kids and you have to remind everybody to go to bed. I am super excited to talk to you today about practical applications of generative AI and AI in law, and specifically in contracting. So I'm going to start sharing my screen, and I'd love to show you a little bit about what we're seeing in the industry and how we're building products around this. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and okay. So there's a few things that I want to talk about today, but I thought it might help to start by setting some context of what exactly is the problem that we're solving with technology for contracting in general, and then how does AI actually play into this? So I'll start by, pointing out something that is likely obvious to a lot of legal professionals and company builders and operators in the room, but, all sorts of these agreements are pretty central to doing business. They manage all of your relationships, whether they're with customers, vendors, employees, sort of any activity that you're doing. But what's interesting is getting these deals done inside of a lot of companies is often a slow and manual process. And when we talk about contracting, I think a lot of us immediately think, oh, contracting, that means legal. And within companies, for in-house lawyers that are, and business owners that are watching contracting happen, you quickly realize that, it's not really just about legal, but in fact, there's lots of different stakeholders that are involved. And, I've seen this personally myself. End of quarter, we are closing a bunch of customer deals, and, we're trying to finalize customer contracts. A lot of the negotiation that's happening is not on legal terms. It's, hey, Gaurav or head of sales, can we provide this discount to this customer? Or, hey, IT, have we provided the right security information? Or, hey, finance, are we okay with these payment terms? Are we okay on the cash flow side? Or product team, are we okay to agree to deliver this feature, et cetera? So what we find is that a lot of these in-house teams end up acting as project managers in addition to legal experts. We also find that regardless of the type of agreement that's being done, the activities are often similar. Are you trying to bring on a new employee or maybe sign an NDA with a partner? You're probably filling out some sort of a template. Are you trying to get a vendor or a customer closed? Some people need to be looped in. Obviously, you're negotiating and redlining throughout this process, but you're also often having to report on the progress of these deals because, hey, it's the end of the quarter. I have 10 deals stuck in legal. What does that mean? Well, often when you talk to the legal team, you find, hey, look, we actually turned those around pretty quickly. Like 5 of them are already in counterparty. 3 of them are with finance and IT, and 2 are actually on your desk for approval. So get to it. And so we kind of see a lot of the same activities happen. The other thing I want to point out is, regardless of, even when you're done with getting a contract executed, and you store it and file it away, the process is not complete. This is the living agreement. It's going to come up for renewal maybe in a year. You're going to have to refer to it when you engage with this partner in some activity. And there's obligations around payment and renewal that you need to be aware of. So it's a living thing that you may have to report on, especially if there's regulatory changes and you need to go and make some changes in these contracts. So where we see technology helping in this process is really actually across from the start to the finish of a contract's life. And that's what we do at our company. We build technology that acts as a platform that helps with intake. Hey, can people just send in an email and say, hey, I need some help? And can our system understand and start responding? That's one of the things that we do. Reviewing, actually reviewing the contract and identifying risky terms and proposed changes. Managing the entire approval process. It's painful to increase your G&A spend and hire people in sales ops or revenue ops or legal that are doing menial tasks like requesting an approval and nagging someone again and again because they're not checking their email. a lot of these things can be automated. And then even when the contract is signed, automatically pulling it out of DocuSign, capturing the parties, the dates, all those details, and filing them away so that your sales, support, other teams, finance teams can find this information and do things like, go collect and send out an invoice, et cetera. So we see a lot of opportunity to apply automation and AI across the board. And, very specifically, I think there are lots of different ways that AI plays into the contracting situation. So I have a few listed here, and I'm gonna talk about a couple of these. And then in the course of this presentation, I actually want to show you demos of a couple of these things so you can get an idea of how we're actually commercializing AI in legal. Something that our company has been doing for several years, as well as a few others, is you can come to us and say, hey, I have 10,000 contracts sitting in SharePoint or Google Drive or Dropbox, and we've been missing some deadlines and it's a pain to find anything. Well, our AI can ingest all of those contracts, extract key terms, and then give you a host of useful features like a renewal report with reminders built in, a Slack and Teams interface so that people in the business can self-serve and find contracts, integrations right into Salesforce so your sales team and your support teams can find what they need, etc. That's a great example of a job that, without AI requires somebody to a couple of times a week download PDFs, click, open them, say, oh, I remember this. It's with this party and this party, and rename the file and drag it into the right folder in SharePoint. All of that can be automated. Another area that I think this is something that we're also doing, but is very novel and really built on top of a lot of Gen AI technology, is the ability to get live assistance as a lawyer as you're redlining contracts. And this, as you can imagine, can save so many hours. It can reduce counsel spend. It can also help you standardize how you're negotiating this across a variety of attorneys. And I'll say one thing. In building products for lawyers, I've been a technologist my whole life, and I've built technology for lots of different kinds of groups. And I love lawyers because I feel like there's a strong affinity between engineers and lawyers. We're very sort of logical and systematic. And I know that lawyers kind of look at a lot of this and go, can you really replace me? I mean, come on, there's all this business nuance and understanding of the deal, et cetera. And you know what? As a CEO that's involved in some of these negotiations, spends a lot of time with my counsel, I get it and I agree. But I also feel that there's a lot of low-hanging stuff that lawyers are always doing that I'm like, of course we're going to go and say you can't use our logo vendor. Of course we're going to go and say we need net 45, et cetera. So there's a lot of low-value stuff that can still be automated away. And so I'll dive into this a little more. Another area that we're seeing become really valuable is being able to answer questions about contracts in simple, natural language. So nobody has to learn an interface or log into a thing. But what if you could just go to Slack and be like, hey, about this contract that's coming up for renewal, is there a price cap increase? I'm not sure I see it. And does the discount from year one still apply? These are the kinds of things your business teams might be asking your in-house legal team. And then they're like, oh, I'm waiting. It's going to take a day or two to get an answer, or I have to bother someone and break their interrupt their workflow. But now, some of these things can be answered using AI. And then finally, I think there are multiple ways combining workflow automation, task management tools, a lot of these kinds of tools that we bring into our platform, but so do other businesses. But when you apply Gen AI to these use cases, you can actually end-to-end automate common requests. So, I always joke that in customer success, the number one common request, if you go and look at the percentage of customer support requests for many tech companies, the largest percentage by far is I forgot my password. And it's such a low value request that companies want to try to automate. Or if you talk to banks, they will tell you, oh, it's what's my balance? What's my account balance? And there's equivalents to this for lawyers inside of companies. And, the ability for Gen AI to understand the contents of an email, to parse and classify it correctly, to identify some of those terms, this is another great example. So there's so many more of these kinds of things. I've already talked your ear off for the first third of this talk, and I want to actually show you some examples to make this a little more tangible and a little more exciting. I have a few windows open here. I apologize for the mess. But let me just start with this use case that I talked about, which is extracting contract data. I'm going to use our business as an example because we live and breathe this every day. I'm logged into Lexion, into our demo account, and I can see a bunch of folders of contracts. Nothing special here. It looks like SharePoint or Google Drive. And maybe I'm trying to look for a particular customer, Dunder Mifflin, somebody we love to work with. And first off, when I come and look at the Dunder Mifflin account, I immediately see kind of useful information like, oh, here's the NDA, the master, and the order. The order is tied to the master. I can see effective dates. I can learn more about this than just a file name, which is all I would have seen had this been, stored in a file folder. We also allow you to do things like, tell us the other party names. We'll put everything together. But there's no AI there in particular. But where AI has played a part already is in organizing these documents and showing me relevant metadata about them. Now, when I dig in, it gets even richer. So again, if I was just doing this on my file folder, I would just see this PDF. Looks like an 11-page document that represents the agreement that we have. But here, I can actually see all sorts of information about this at my fingertips. And starting with the system has identified what kind of agreement this is out of lots of common agreements that companies use to operate every day. It's gone through and identified the title, the parties, the effective date. It's told me it's active and when it's going to renew based on a variety of terms that talk about the life cycle of the agreement. It's even identified a renewal cancellation deadline, and I have a variety of tools to, maybe I really want to bug my team because this is so important. So bug them every week, 3 months before, like, hey, finance, like, let's not let this auto renew. Let this renew without a fight. Because man, I felt like maybe I'm just kidding. So examples there, but we also extract legal terms. We can extract financial terms. We can extract a variety of clauses that are relevant for the contract. So you can kind of see where the AI has come back and found language. So you're thinking, so this is what we can do out of the box. This is one example of applying AI. We've built these models for several years, and we've been using deep learning approaches to do this, not Gen AI. However, what we're rolling out is the ability for customers to very quickly, identify any kind of clause, highlight relevant language, and then say, hey, based on this new language that I've highlighted, I want you to go find other contracts that are talking about this concept. So the ability for end users to, with a very simple interface, be able to highlight relevant language and then train models. That's an example where we're able to take our investments in AI already and continue to enhance and innovate using some Gen AI features. The last thing I'll just say about this is it is really cool once you have this metadata, what you can do. You can, of course, immediately get a report of everything that's coming up for renewal or has a cancellation deadline or is going to expire, or any custom things that you might have put in there, like some milestone with a payment obligation. You can also run reports like, ooh, there's a new data privacy change in California. Can I see all the contracts that might be affected? And you know what? Can I also find ones that reference terms like customer data directly and show me what that looks like? And so you can run this powerful reporting across all your contracts in a really simple interface. You can download these, share these reports, et cetera, et cetera. Again, making it easier to collaborate within your company or outside counsel. And I can tell you, like, our customers tell us all sorts of amazing uses for this. They tell us, oh, we're going in for a financing. We have to fill out disclosure schedules. Which of our contracts are not assignable? Lexion saved us so much time in answering that question. We're revamping our website. We have all these customers. We haven't done a good job of tracking who gave us logo usage rights. We need someone to go read them all and find out who we can do it without written consent or who we need to blah, blah, et cetera. And boom, we can help answer those questions. So amazing things happen when you're able to turn highly unstructured data like text into structured data from which you can then perform this kind of search. That's what I have to say about this application. I want to talk about another one today. I want to talk about the use of really purely Gen AI in providing co-pilots. You've no doubt heard of GitHub Copilot, a very popular tool used by developers. But I think I also would love to show you what this looks like. So let me show you the assistant that we've been working on. So I am here in what is arguably a lawyer's favorite tool, Microsoft Word, and I'm looking at that same contract, and in this case, I'm pretending it's a vendor agreement. Now up here, I can see Lexion for Word, and this is an add-on that we provide for Word. It's available in the official Microsoft Store, so your IT team will be, okay, hopefully, with you using this. And it provides a variety of features that help you get your job done. We allow you to save these drafts back into the cloud, so they're not stuck on someone's laptop and lost. We allow you to do knowledge management, like, hey, I want to actually, always have my favorite clauses at my fingertips so I can readily insert them. Again, no AI here, just useful things. And then we have a variety of tools that help you using AI technology. So I want to demonstrate what these look like. I actually want to start by talking about the ability to modify. So I'm looking at this agreement, and I'm not a trained lawyer, and several people in the audience may not be either. So I like to use a clause that everybody can understand, which is about payment. So let's take a look at this clause. And let's say I'm a lawyer. I need to review this vendor agreement and turn it around. It's 11 pages. It'll probably take me 45 minutes to an hour to do. As I'm reading through the invoicing and payment clause, I start to notice a few things I don't love. In this case, it's an annual payment, and it's not something we think should be paid annually based on how we're going to use it. I can see that over here, I have to pay at 45 days after I get the invoice. And if I don't pay on time, I start getting charged a late interest rate. So, okay, I've seen what I need. I need to make some edits here. And I can come in here and say, change this so we only pay quarterly, get net 90, and I don't know, never pay late fees with no repercussions. And so here I can generate my suggestion. And now what the AI is doing here is it's taking the language, it's taking the surrounding language, it's taking examples where it's seen this before, this kind of edit, or related edits, and it's coming back with highly surgical red lines that should hopefully address my concern. So just looking at this, quarterly, okay, that one word change did it. It understood what net 90 meant. That's good. Payment fees, overage fees, it removed that, which is not quite late fees, but that I might have to remove that. And I can see it's removed a bunch of the late fee language, and then it's added sort of this very explicit thing. And this is good. Maybe this is not exactly what I'm going to send to counterparty, but it's gotten the juices flowing. It's given me some ideas. In some cases, it might be just fine, and I can move on. So this is one of the ways that we help lawyers with this tech. And the thing I just want to say is, I've used a fairly simple clause here, but sometimes, and I've seen this in my own company, we'll have customers that come to us with special requests like, hey, I've been burned buying other contract management tools, took forever to implement, we never got ROI. I want some sort of implementation guarantee. Would you provide that? And it's something we've increasingly started to do. And in the early days, we were like, what should we put in the contract? This kind of technology helps speed up that process. Another example, another way that we help lawyers is we actually help them add language. So let's pretend I read this contract and I found no mention of logo use. So I'm thinking to myself, gosh, like I don't want them running wild. Let me just make this explicit. So here I can say suggest language that prevents the use of our logo. Again, I'm not using any technical jargon, no legalese. Company shall not use customers' logo, trademarks, any proprietary marks without prior written consent. Hey, that sounds great to me. So I'm going to insert this, and I'm going to use this as well. So another example of how this technology can actually speed up the negotiation process. Now, we are a very, very customer-driven and customer-obsessed company. And when I say that, I don't mean, we fawn over our customers or anything. We do. We love doing that. But what I really mean is we listen very, very closely to their biggest pain points, and orient our roadmap, our product roadmap, towards what they're telling us. So we actually rolled this out in December, in the early days of GPT. We've been working with this technology for a while. And so in December, we launched, announced this, started getting people in there, started spending a lot of time talking to our customers and asking, what's good, what could be better, tell us more, show us how you're using it. And one of the things people started to tell us was, hey, you know what, this is cool, it's actually nice in an ad hoc scenario, but what I would love is to be able to, kind of combine these rules into some sort of groups and run them at will. Maybe not as formal as playbooks, but something like that. So I can sort of, build these up, because I kind of always know what I'm looking for when I look at a vendor. And so that's what we've rolled out. We've rolled out the ability, and this is very new and very recent, that we've made this generally available. We've been running this in beta for several months, but anyone can come and buy this product now. Is, you can come in and say, hey, I actually am going to tell you all my rules for a vendor. I'm just going to tell them to you up front. So, payment terms have to be net 45. Don't allow late fees. Governing laws got to be Washington. Don't auto renew. I have some caps on limitation of liability, and I want termination for convenience with 30 days notice. Pretty aggressive terms, but that's what I want. So I can put these in here and all at once ask for it to go and run these rules. Now, this process actually takes 4 to 5 minutes. So instead of waiting for these answers, I actually have the exact same contract open in another window. I'm just flipping over to that window while that processes, so we can just kind of look at what these results will look like. And so here's the same contract, and you can see it's come back and told me, hey, this rule passed, but these ones did not pass. They need some sort of human review. And in each case, not only, so let's see what it does. When I click on it, a few things happen. One, it tells me it's passed. And then 2, it reiterates the rule I wrote. 3, it tells me what it thinks is needed. So it says, no suggestion needed. And then 4, it builds my confidence, provides a guardrail, and shows me it's not hallucinating by pointing to the original text in the contract. So this is a really great use case that, works in a great assistive manner. Now, similarly, I could look at this one and say, show me where the late fees changes are needed. And here it says, add a clause that explicitly state that no late fees will be charged. Okay, and it's come and provided a change along those lines. Similarly, I can see the same thing happening here for governing law. It's changed the governing law. It's identified it was New York. It's changed it to Washington. You can also see that, yeah, it's come in and it's made some nice changes there. It's read the auto renewal language, will not auto renew, etc. So, as much as I love geeking out over legal language, not everybody in the audience is going to want to watch me review a contract live, but you get the idea. This is remarkable technology, and we really think the way that this kind of tech should come to market today, and the way we are bringing it to market, is as an assistive tool to lawyers. That's why we're building it right into Word. That's why we're making it so easy to get started, where you can just come in and say, I want a playbook. I'll just call it whatever. I could call it my test playbook. I have some description, and now I'm going to add rules. And editing these rules, I mean, that's really all there's to it. You can test them and run them. We have clients that are using this on all types of contracts, HR contracts, leases, vendor agreements. So it really is quite powerful. And I think it shows how much change there is to come in this domain over the next few years. The other thing I will say for people in the audience who might be thinking, well, oh gosh, is this the end of lawyers? What does this mean? As someone who works very closely with my legal counsel, I couldn't think that's further from the truth. Like, in any negotiation, a lot of the things we end up negotiating are very basic rote things. And it's like, when I review a deal with my lawyer, she'll say, hey, Gaurav, like, these things I got, whatever, let's not waste time on them. It's going to be fine. There's these 2 niggly points that we need to work through. And it's always like that. And all the work and discussion and debate and business nuance and coaching for me on what are the risks is all around a couple of important things. So I think this is a continued trend of automating away lower level tasks. I like to make the analogy to finance. Just because the spreadsheet was invented, finance teams didn't disappear. Instead, the demand for higher order tasks increased. I want more what if scenario modeling. I want, more of that kind of stuff, not less. So I think we're going to see that happen here as well. Um, that is all I had for you in demos. I just want to leave you with a parting few bits that might help you as you're navigating what's happening in this world of Gen AI. Gartner today published a very interesting story saying they think Gen AI is at the peak of its hype cycle. Actually, I'll show that to you. Gartner Gen AI. Is this it? Yeah. So I think this came out right a couple of days ago. Places at the peak of the hype cycle, which I think is actually really interesting. And if you're not familiar with the Gartner hype cycle, I think this picture does it more justice. But you can kind of see, the peak of inflated expectations, the trough of disillusionment. Oh my God, this technology is not that great. It's not going to do anything. And then people slowly start building stuff up, and you're like, oh, okay, actually, this is fantastic. And I think a lot of the public and people who are watching from afar kind of here beginning to sort of go down this path of like, I've seen so many ChatGPT demos and wedding speeches and funny stories, but how is this really helping me in my job? And I think for a lot of us who are building and on the front lines, we are somewhere here. We've gone through the whoa, this actually needs some work to be able to turn it into a valuable end product. There's actually a lot of lifting to be done behind the scenes. But hey, we actually can see how this becomes productive. So that was very new. So sorry I went off script and started searching Google there. But the thing I want to leave you with is I think a lot of people are going to start asking these questions, which is, hey, all these vendors talking about Gen AI, like, how do I evaluate what a great Gen AI product looks like? And I've been asked this so many times that I've come up with what I think is a simple rubric, 5 things you should check for. One, does it actually do what you want well? So if you're buying something for your customer success team to, auto respond to common emails, test it. Pull out 20 emails, test the new system, grade it across vendors, see if it's there. 2, it's okay if it doesn't work perfectly out of the box, but as you train it and say, no, I prefer this response, or I prefer this clause and red line. Does it improve? Does it make the same mistakes again? That's something you should check for. Does it learn from your existing repository of information? So for contracts, is it speaking like my company does when it provides red lines? That's super valuable. And if you have my contracts already, you can do that. Or, in the customer success example, can I feed it my knowledge base and my prior email responses? Does it have guardrails? We've all heard the stories, we've all experienced it playing with the product ourselves, but these large language models will frequently hallucinate. And so you need a variety of different kinds of guardrails. So if you have a Q&A bot for HR that will answer questions and somebody comes and asks, hey, what's our paternity policy? You definitely want it to find the actual paternity policy and reference it, not make one up in case the policy doesn't have it. And in which case you want it to say, sorry, this is not something I can answer, an HR rep will contact you. And similarly, you've seen in the contracting example how we want that to work. And then this goes without saying, but I think the data privacy aspect of it is stronger here, is really understand, are these vendors savvy about protecting your data? One of the big dangers with generative AI model fine-tuning versus using your data for deep learning models is that commingling customer data for this kind of training is leaky. It is possible for some other customer to end up seeing some portions of your contract or your customer support tickets if your vendor does not know how to isolate and separate this kind of data correctly. So this is where I think I would be careful to level up and learn about how to test these things. And on our site, we love talking about what's happening in this world. We have been recognized multiple times for being great. In fact, we just published today, or maybe it's going out tomorrow, a guide on just, hey, simply, what do all these terms mean? Gen AI, large language model, GPT, chat GPT. So if you're interested in learning, follow me on LinkedIn, visit Lexion.ai, and please feel free to drop me an email. I love to talk about these topics. I love to geek out about these things. That is Oh gosh. Um, I love that question, but it is so different depending on the stage of business you are. I think one lesson that permeates it all, regardless of stage, is you really need to be customer obsessed. You need to be attuned to where is the biggest hair on fire problem for your customers, because that's what they are willing to pay for and invite you into their business and stop what they're doing in their super busy days serving their customers and say, oh my gosh, you're going to solve this problem for me? Thank you. So I think that is really, really important. Another is do it in a big market. We're doing what we're doing with Lexion. Our business is applicable to every kind of company. We sell to hospitals and biotech companies. We sell to companies that make shoes and electric bikes. We sell to B2B SaaS companies. We sell to B2B consumer companies, tech companies. And so pick a really big market because there's a huge amount of opportunity. And then finally, I think this is more of a weight of message, and is really important for people building companies with cutting edge technology. Don't get lost in the technology. It's just a means to an end. And ultimately, you have to solve customers' real problems. And as much as you love geeking out about, fine-tuning your large language model, and maybe that's a great dinner party conversation, when it comes to business, it's going to be, hey, really, what is this going to do for me? So fixate on your customers' problems and don't get lost in the technology. Enjoy it, wield it well, but that's not the right interface to speak with your customers. Exactly. Yes. Nate, I can't hear you. I don't know if you're talking yet. Our team today is about 75 people. We founded the company in 2019 at the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, a research institute here in Seattle, funded by the late and great Paul Allen. What it takes to build a product, this is, I've built multiple products before in my own businesses and others. It varies from stage to stage, but essentially it requires a strong technical team that in the early days is, and actually, I don't know, I'm biased towards this, is a product and problem-oriented technical team, not a, hey, I want to build, the next spaceship technical team. Because especially when you're a young company and you're trying to find product market fit, you're going to go down some dark alleys and dead ends, and you need to pivot quickly, and you need to understand when you're there. Oh, we released this feature. We were so excited about it because, Joe over there told us. But now that we've rolled it out to another 10 customers, no one's using it. I want everyone in the company, not just product managers or GMs, to be saying that. I want the engineer building it to be saying that. And the more of that DNA you get earlier on, the quicker you iterate to solving a customer's problem. And that's on just general good product building for tech companies. In building AI products, so I think there's a big. So when we started this business, we were, really building purely focused, and we still are, on deep learning models, and that requires a lot of sophisticated machine learning expertise, and we have some amazing talent on that front. With generative AI, that's beginning to change. You can actually accomplish some pretty wild things that were impossible without a team of PhDs a few years ago, and now today you can get to very quickly, or almost out of the box. However, what we're finding as we've worked with this technology for the last several months, and actually years, because the GPT API has been around for a while, has been that in order to go from cool prototype that wows to reliable production ready system that improves, learns, has context, and you can improve without breaking 10 customers and, oh, that broke, that's no, to actually build a reliable production ready system requires a significant amount of discipline, and a lot of that discipline still comes from machine learning, AI, scientific approaches. So I'll make that tangible. We, for example, before we even started fine-tuning and improving models for our AI assist, said, what's the point of improving a model? How are we going to know? I mean, what, you're just going to open up your favorite contract and check? That doesn't tell you anything. We need to stop what we're doing, and we need to set up we need to get like 50 contracts. We need to create dozens of rules. We need to have lawyers go through and highlight the correct answer. What is the ideal response? Did it pass? Did it fail? And even suggest some red lines. Once we have that, now we can start. We've built an evaluation set. We've built the infrastructure and framework to evaluate this on those same contracts every night. We have a chart that gets published that shows us accuracy scores, that shows us latency, the speed at which these responses come back, because that's relevant, et cetera. And so that's just one small example of you can't really build production grade machine learning and AI systems without having the discipline around evaluation, training, deployment, model management, all these things. And even in the world of Gen AI, they still apply.